I want to talk a little bit about the heavy things, the heavier energies, the darker sides, the weightier end of the polarity spectrum. There's knowledge has its place. Knowledge definitely has its place. And having some knowledge or awareness of situations that other people are going through, or other beings, or things that are going on underneath the surface, etherically, astrally, in the thought spaces, in the collective thought realms. It's good to have knowledge of these things. It can be, and it can also be a burden as well, depending on how good you are at holding space for certain types of energy, or even certain types of knowledge. And both of those are the same thing, of course, different words for the same thing. It can be important to be aware of certain things, and it does create a worldview that seems to account for the distortions much better than what is given on TV advertisements or your average Joe Schmo whenever he talks about anything. There is a body of knowledge that, when waded through, will broaden your comprehension and your ability to speak. Without sounding like an ignoramus. But it's heavy. And it's fine for it to be heavy, because what your fellow man and woman and child is going through or has gone through is your burden as well, in a sense. Depending on what level of distortion you want to remove, you can remove yourself all the way back to the Godhead. And of course that's a matter of opinion as well, because we all know what religions say. But at the very least, you can remove yourself back to a divine being who's having another go on the merry-go-round. And in the broader perspectives, the smaller sufferings, or the sufferings that an individual human will go through in an incarnation, they are not as significant as when the human strictly believes that he or she is the body and the mind itself and nothing beyond. So it can be helpful, and it can also be heavy. It can literally weigh it weighs everything down, right? It does do that. But if you got your nose down too many rabbit holes, then you can't really pay the proper attention to your own individual. I am this body, mind, name, such and so life. Okay, you're gonna neglect it, and at the same time as you're neglecting it, you're going to look very strange to family and friends who, for whatever reason, have decided that they were not interested in any of this, or that they would like to debunk it as nonsense or conspiracy theories, or that it's just been too much for them, because it is too much for most people. To get into, to even dip a toe in, is too much for most people. That's why we have what we see as 99% NPCs, or somewhere around there. It's difficult. It's not for the faint of heart. But if a situation, take any of the situations, like take any of them. Take abductees, take people with cloning center memories, take anyone who's suffered ritual abuse, take TIs, take being born into a certain a bloodline which requires certain things of you, simply by virtue of you being born into it. There are so many different ways to get yourself fucked, basically, in this here realm, and many of them are not even your fault, so to speak. But if you take any one of these things, which when all piled together gives this, at first blush, completely insane worldview, take the idea that Satanists run the realm. That's just a couple, there's thousands of them. Take any of these bits of esoteric knowledge, and if you yourself individually are not currently experiencing one of these things, but you know about it and it's happening to certain people, well, you're carrying their burden by virtue of extending out your mind into that space, because you start feeling things that they're feeling. If they're having discussions, or if they're talking to you personally about what they're going through, you're literally shouldering part of that load, which is good, and it's helpful for them to be able to have someone to talk to, and it's helpful for you to have a bigger, a more full worldview. But at the same time, if you give too much weight to that, literally and figuratively, your whole energetic self will start sinking into the sea, because it's just a big ocean of bullshit, essentially. And it's not just bullshit in the conventional sense. It's just a shit. Like it's a bunch of crap. It's stuff. No connotation. It's take a whole bunch of things and ideas and experiences and just muddle them all together. And it's like a thought space or an energetic space that's just like clumped together. It's very tightly clumped together. If you're taking all those things on while not experiencing personally. And when I say personally, I mean if you're experiencing any of these bits by yourself, or if you know someone personally who's experiencing any of these things, if you're a family member, or knowing someone on YouTube that has experienced something does not constitute being directly affected. It doesn't. It constitutes this piece of general knowledge that I have become made aware of now has a little bit more validity added to it, because somebody that I have met through the internet has verified or added to, or they've done something to add validity to it. Not that it would come anywhere near what scientists call as facts. Those are complete. That word is something else. And you can't, the problem is, if you want to call it a problem, is you can't unlearn. Once you've seen enough things and your mind starts weaving together the narrative. And if you've done enough research and you've talked to enough people, then you know at a certain point you're beyond the tipping point to where you're like, oh, maybe the world is regular after all. Oh no, maybe, you know, maybe all the conspiracy theorist people are correct. Like, if you're still on that dividing line, and it could teeter either way, you know, like, I don't see it as possible to go very far in without just seeing that the presented reality is just, it's pretend, like it's Barbie world or something. It's Ken and Barbie, but like a twisted version, a stupid version. So anyway, do all your research, do your rabbit holes digging and stuff like that, but just remember to take time for your own self, and, you know, don't drown in that shit. Like, a lot of people would drown in it, you know. Anywho, peace.